Dealerships aren't just offering deals anymore. They're practically pleading with riders to take these bikes off their hands. And behind every chrome badge and spec sheet lies the same question. Why didn't it sell? Today, we're counting down 7 motorcycle models that dealers are desperate to move. Number 7. BMW R9T Urban G/S. Back in the mid-2010s, retro motorcycles were the hottest trend on 2 wheels. Riders wanted something with old-school charm, but modern reliability. And at first glance, the Urban G/S looked like the perfect answer. It had the styling of a 1980s rally bike, high front fender, fork gaiters, spoked wheels, and all the rugged visual cues of an old-school off-road machine. But once riders started living with it, reality hit harder than expected, and now dealerships across the country are stuck with these bikes collecting dust. Let's talk specs first. The Urban G/S is powered by an 1170 cubic centimeter air-cooled boxer engine. It delivers 110 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque. Not bad on paper, but in practice, that power is delivered through a 6-speed gearbox that feels dated compared to today's smoother systems. And at 525 pounds wet, this bike is no lightweight. The weight distribution and suspension setup made it more suited for urban cafes than the rocky trails the name suggests. Riders expecting a true scrambler experience were left disappointed. Then there's the tech, or lack of it. The retro aesthetic extended beyond the styling and into the dashboard. Analog gauges, minimal rider aids, and no real infotainment features make it feel stripped down. Now, for some purists, that's a selling point. But for today's riders, especially those used to ride modes, traction control, or digital displays, it feels behind the times. That's especially tough when you're asking buyers to fork over a starting price of $16,645. For that kind of money, you're stepping into serious competition from other brands offering more features, better performance, and newer designs. Another issue is the ergonomics. The upright position combined with the wide bars feels fine around town, but on longer rides, the seat proves unforgiving. Taller riders find the peg position a bit cramped, and the suspension, while decent, isn't adjustable enough to handle varied terrain. It's a looker, no doubt, but it's all show and not enough to go. Dealers stocked up on these bikes during the heritage craze, assuming retro would dominate for the next decade. And for a while, that held true. But now, younger riders are gravitating toward middleweight adventure bikes, electric options, or even modern sport nakeds. The Urban G/S, once a cool throwback, is now sitting forgotten next to shinier, more tech-savvy machines. Even among BMW fans, demand has shifted toward newer models with better all-around usability. At the end of the day, the Urban G/S suffers from a mismatch between promise and performance. It promises off-road flair but delivers more of a street-focused experience. It promises heritage appeal but falls short on modern comfort and tech. And with so many other bikes in the $16,000 range offering better value, it's no surprise that dealerships are struggling to get them off the showroom floor. But if this faux scrambler didn't excite buyers, just wait until you see the next bike on the list, a full-size sport touring machine that got ghosted by its own fan base. Number 6. Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX. For a bike that tries to balance high-speed performance with long-distance comfort, the Ninja 1000 SX ends up in an awkward middle ground that's not quite exciting enough for thrill seekers and not quite comfortable enough for daily riders. Under the fairings, the Ninja 1000 SX is powered by a 1,041 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine that produces 140 horsepower and 81 pound-feet of torque. That's serious performance. More than enough for any highway or backroad blast. But that power comes with weight, tipping the scales at 525 pounds wet. While not outrageous, it's on the heavy side for riders expecting sharp handling in tight corners or a confidence-inspiring upright ride in city traffic. Add in its long wheelbase and relatively conservative geometry, and the bike can start to feel more like a fast commuter than a true sport bike. The bike is loaded with tech, including ride modes, cornering traction control, and a quick shifter as standard. It has a comfortable upright riding position and a decently padded seat, and the full fairing provides wind protection. On paper, it's the perfect blend of power and practicality. But here's the problem. In the real world, riders have more choices now than ever, and when it comes to sport touring, middleweight machines are stealing the spotlight. Younger riders are gravitating toward more agile, lighter options like the Yamaha MT-09 or the Honda NC 750X, bikes that deliver good power with much lower price tags and easier maneuverability. The Ninja 1000 SX, by comparison, feels like a bike that belongs to an earlier era when bigger was always better. At a starting price of $13,299, it's a tough sell for riders who know they can get more versatility for less money elsewhere. Even among experienced motorcyclists, the bike hasn't earned the kind of cult following that Kawasaki was probably hoping for. It's not seen as a track bike, despite the horsepower, and it's not viewed as a true touring bike either, despite the hard luggage and electronic suspension. That leaves it sitting awkwardly in the middle, overpowered for new riders and underspecialized for hardcore enthusiasts. And it doesn't help that this segment of the market is shrinking. As adventure bikes and lightweight touring machines dominate the conversation, the full-size sport touring class is starting to fade. People want bikes that can commute during the week and explore gravel roads on the weekend. The Ninja 1000 SX just isn't built for that kind of flexibility. It's a pure road machine in a market that's veering off-road. Dealerships that stocked up on these expecting steady sales are now dealing with low turnover and bikes that have sat for over a year without a buyer. Many have resorted to heavy markdowns or bundling in accessories just to move inventory. And while it's still a well-built, fast, and capable machine, it's simply not what the market is hungry for right now. It's not a bad bike, but it might be the wrong bike at the wrong time. And speaking of overestimating, the next bike on our list was supposed to redefine touring. Instead, it barely moved at all. We dug into dealer data, rider forums, and real-world ownership feedback so you don't have to wade through the hype. If you're saving thousands in regret, go ahead and hit subscribe. Number 5. Harley Davidson CVO Road Glide. There was a time when the Road Glide CVO was seen as the crown jewel of Harley Davidson's touring lineup. It represented peak luxury, performance, and exclusivity. But today, that once glowing crown is starting to tarnish. Dealerships across the country are struggling to move these ultra-premium machines, and for many longtime Harley fans, the price tag is only part of the problem. Let's start with the numbers. At the heart of the Road Glide CVO is the Milwaukee 8 121V twin engine, delivering 115 horsepower, 139 pound-feet of torque, and a displacement of 1,986 cubic centimeters. That's a serious amount of grunt for a touring bike, and it's paired with top-shelf performance features. Fully adjustable suspension gives riders control over every mile. A 12.3-inch full-color touchscreen offers advanced infotainment. And a Rockford Fosgate sound system delivers crisp audio at highway speeds. But all of that comes with a steep price: $50,000. That's right, $50,000. For context, the Road Glide Special gives you nearly 90% of the same experience for around $28,000. You're still getting the Milwaukee 8 engine, excellent long-haul comfort, and plenty of tech. The only real differences are exclusive paint, fancier sound, and a few trim upgrades. For many Harley loyalists, that extra $22,000 just doesn't make sense. That's where the trouble starts. Even riders who love Harley Davidson aren't willing to pay more for what feels like less. Dealerships stocked up on the Road Glide CVO expecting strong demand. After all, in the past, Harley's top-tier models always had a waiting list. But now, these bikes are sitting on the showroom floor month after month, collecting dust instead of mileage. Some dealerships are quietly phasing out their allocations, while others are simply refusing to order more. Then there's the resale issue. CVO models tend to take a sharp hit in value the moment they roll off the lot. Unlike traditional Harleys that hold their worth well in the used market, the CVO lineup depreciates quickly. That's a huge red flag for seasoned riders who know the value of long-term investment. Why spend $50,000 when a similar experience can be had for far less and with better resale down the line? And let's not forget the elephant in the room, the changing economy. With inflation, rising insurance rates, and shifting priorities among buyers, ultra-luxury motorcycles are no longer as appealing as they once were. Riders want comfort, performance, and heritage, but they also want value, and that's where the Road Glide CVO struggles to compete. It offers the flash, but in today's climate, flash just isn't enough. It's a tough pill to swallow for the brand and for dealerships that once saw these bikes as guaranteed profit machines. But the truth is, even the best touring bike Harley has ever built can't escape the realities of the market. If the Road Glide CVO taught us anything, it's that even loyal Harley fans have their limits, and those limits start where the price tag crosses 50 grand. From overpriced touring to misunderstood muscle, our next bike is a beast that no one wanted to tame. Number 4. Ducati Diavel 1260. This bike was supposed to be a groundbreaking machine. It had the horsepower, it had the style, it had the brand name, but when rubber met the road, this Italian brute quickly became one of the most misunderstood bikes in dealerships across the country. Let's start with the performance. The Diavel 1260 comes equipped with a 1260 cubic centimeter Testastretta DVT engine, a liquid-cooled V-twin that puts down 159 horsepower and 96 pound-feet of torque. That's an incredible amount of power for a cruiser-style bike. And with Ducati's engineering, it's not just raw muscle. The throttle response is sharp, the acceleration is brutal, and the power delivery is smooth across the range. It can launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 3 seconds, which is enough to blow past many leader-class sport bikes. So what went wrong? It starts with identity. Riders didn't know where to place the Diavel. It looks like a cruiser with its low-slung seat, wide rear tire, and forward controls. But then you ride it, and it behaves like a high-performance naked sport bike with aggressive geometry and stiff suspension. Traditional cruiser fans were turned off by the forward lean and unforgiving ride. Meanwhile, sport bike riders couldn't get over its weight, which tips the scales at around 544 pounds wet. Too heavy for serious track days, too aggressive for laid-back cruising. It sat in the middle, and it didn't quite please either side. Then there's the price. With a starting cost of $22,295, the Diavel 1260 wasn't cheap. It was priced more like a premium touring machine, but it lacked the comfort and storage to compete in that category. Riders who were cross-shopping often went with more versatile options like the BMW R9T GS or the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT. And those who wanted style and simplicity leaned toward bikes like the Indian Scout or the Harley Davidson Lowrider ST, which offer a purer cruiser experience for much less money. Another big issue, maintenance. Ducati's reputation for high service costs isn't just a myth. The desmodromic valve system requires more frequent attention than typical V-twin engines, and that scared off a lot of potential buyers. Add to that the limited dealer network in some parts of the United States, and you've got a bike that's harder to own, harder to service, and harder to enjoy in the long run. Even seasoned Ducati fans had mixed feelings about the Diavel. It was fast, sure, but it wasn't playful. It had presence, but it lacked the charm and accessibility of the Monster or even the Multistrada lineup. And while it looked aggressive in photos, in person it came off bulky and awkward from certain angles. Over time, interest in the Diavel began to fade. It didn't have the staying power of Ducati sport bikes, and it never built a dedicated fan base within the cruiser world. For dealers, that meant one thing: excess inventory and slow sales. But that's not the only premium bike struggling to find love in the showroom, because the next one features a Japanese machine that's been sitting in silence for far too long. Number 3. Suzuki Boulevard M109R. This one's a beast, on paper, but in reality it's become a permanent fixture on showroom floors across the country. The Suzuki Boulevard M109R was supposed to be the ultimate power cruiser, blending brute strength with a sleek profile that could turn heads from blocks away. Instead, it's quietly become one of the biggest headaches for dealerships. Why? Because most riders don't want to wrestle with a heavyweight muscle cruiser anymore, especially one that hasn't been updated in over a decade. At its core, the M109R is powered by a massive 1,783 cubic centimeter V-twin engine that produces 128 horsepower and 118 pound-feet of torque. Those are wild numbers. Numbers that should put it in the same league as the most powerful cruisers on the road today. But the problem is, all that power comes with compromises that modern riders just aren't willing to make anymore. Tipping the scales at over 760 pounds wet, the M109R is anything but nimble. The ergonomics are aggressive, with a low seat height and stretched riding posture that puts strain on your back and wrists during longer rides. Combine that with a massive 240-inch rear tire and a stiff suspension, and the bike starts to feel more like a drag racer than a comfortable cruiser. And that's exactly the problem. It's too focused on straight-line speed and lacks the all-around usability riders have come to expect from premium machines. While the styling may still attract some attention with its long, low silhouette and sculpted fuel tank, the design hasn't meaningfully changed since the early 2000s. And in a motorcycle market that's now dominated by adventure bikes and stripped-down naked standards, the M109R feels stuck in time. It's not just about trends. Riders are now prioritizing comfort, tech features, and everyday rideability over sheer muscle and flash, and that's where this bike misses the mark completely. Another major red flag is the running cost. Insurance premiums on the M109R are higher than average due to its high displacement and muscle cruiser classification. Resale value is also weak, especially as more riders shift towards smaller, more manageable bikes with modern features and better dealer support. That creates a vicious cycle. High cost to own, low payoff to sell, and little reason for new buyers to take the plunge. As a result, dealerships are stuck with unsold stock collecting dust in corners of their showrooms. Bikes they just can't seem to move. And let's not forget competition. For the price, around $15,500, you could pick up a variety of better rounded alternatives. Bikes like the Yamaha V-Max, the Indian Chief Dark Horse, or even a used Harley Davidson Fat Bob 114 offer similar performance but with better handling, broader brand appeal, and in many cases, a smoother ride. The M109R may be fast, but it's not enough. In the end, the Suzuki Boulevard M109R stands as a reminder that power alone doesn't sell motorcycles anymore. Riders want refinement, versatility, and a bike that feels good, both at the stoplight and on the open road. Unfortunately, this one just doesn't deliver where it counts. Still, nothing says dealership regret like our next bike, one that confused buyers before they even turned the key. Number 2. Honda CTX 1300. When it comes to motorcycles that left riders scratching their heads, the Honda CTX 1300 stands out as one of the most confusing misfires in recent memory. This bike was supposed to be a bold attempt at merging cruiser comfort with sport touring functionality, but instead it landed in a strange middle ground that didn't satisfy fans of either genre. From its first reveal, the CTX looked like a bike designed by committee. Flat lines, an oddly stretched frame, and a personality so muted it almost disappeared in a showroom full of chrome and attitude. Under the hood, the CTX 1300 was powered by a 1,266 cubic centimeter V4 engine, producing 83 horsepower and 78 pound-feet of torque. On paper, those numbers sounded promising, especially for a bike that claimed to offer both long-distance comfort and around-town usability. But once riders got on it, they found the experience underwhelming. The power delivery was smooth, but too smooth. It lacked the grunt that cruiser fans expect and the sharp response that sport touring riders demand. The design didn't help either. With its extremely flat seat, long wheelbase, and high-mounted handlebars, the CTX failed to offer the comfortable ergonomics that cruiser lovers look for. Instead of a relaxed, stretched-out ride, many riders reported feeling awkwardly perched on top of the bike, as if Honda hadn't quite figured out who this motorcycle was really for. The muted engine note only added to the confusion. Unlike the throaty rumble of a V-twin or the purposeful hum of a true touring machine, the CTX's exhaust note was quiet, tame, and uninspiring. It didn't have the soul of a cruiser or the urgency of a tourer, it was just there. Customization options were almost non-existent, which immediately alienated cruiser enthusiasts who love to make their bikes their own. No saddlebags, no fairing options, and no meaningful aftermarket support meant what you saw was what you got. In a market where riders want to tailor their machine to fit their personality, the CTX offered little more than a factory default experience. Then came the pricing. With a starting price of $17,499, it was positioned far too close to bikes that offered more power, better tech, and more brand prestige. Competitors like the Yamaha FJR 1300 and even Harley Davidson's lowrider models gave riders more excitement and better resale value for similar money. The CTX looked like a bike for someone who didn't know what they wanted, and that that's never a good sign in a market as passionate as motorcycling. Honda pulled the plug on the CTX 1300 after just a few years of disappointing sales. But before they did, dealerships across the country were left with rows of unsold models taking up space. Even now, some of those bikes are still lingering on showroom floors, collecting dust and reminding everyone that not every experiment leads to success. The CTX 1300 was a lesson in trying to please everyone and ending up pleasing no one. It had potential, but no identity. Riders walked past it. Dealers couldn't move it, and Honda quietly let it fade into the background. If you thought this bike was a missed opportunity, just wait until you see the next one on the list. A project so out of touch with reality that even the brand's most loyal fans didn't want anything to do with it. Number 1. Harley Davidson Pan America 2021 Launch Edition. When Harley Davidson decided to break into the adventure touring market, it was one of the most daring moves the company had made in decades. For over 100 years, the brand was synonymous with heavyweight cruisers and long-distance touring bikes, not off-road machines built to take on gravel, snow, and unpaved trails. But in the year 2021, Harley Davidson introduced the Pan America, their first ever adventure bike, and the expectations were sky high. At the heart of the Pan America is the Revolution Max engine, a liquid-cooled 4-valve per-cylinder V-twin producing 150 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque. This power plant is paired with an engine displacement of 1,250 cubic centimeters, giving it enough muscle to compete head-to-head with rivals like the BMW GS series and the KTM Super Adventure models. On paper, it was everything adventure riders wanted: performance, innovation, and a big American badge on the tank. But right from the start, there were issues. The Pan America Launch Edition, while bold in design and engineering, stumbled out of the gate due to reliability concerns. Riders who eagerly picked up the first wave of these bikes reported frustrating glitches, especially in the software. The touchscreen interface, a 6.8-inch color display, would occasionally freeze or fail to load ride data. That's a big problem when you're in the middle of nowhere relying on your navigation system. Then there was the adaptive ride height system, one of the most talked about features of the Pan America. In theory, it was brilliant. The system automatically lowers the suspension when the bike comes to a stop, helping shorter riders feel more comfortable and confident at stoplights or in technical terrain. But in practice, early adopters reported inconsistent performance. Some said the system failed to engage, while others mentioned uneven sag underweight, making the bike feel unstable on unpredictable surfaces. The riding dynamics also divided opinion. At higher speeds, the Pan America felt composed and powerful, but in slow-speed maneuvers or off-road crawling, the weight distribution became an issue. The bike's center of gravity, while low on paper, didn't translate to easy handling in technical off-road environments. Many riders described it as top-heavy, making it less forgiving when navigating rocky terrain, tight switchbacks, or even simple parking lots. Even with all of its mechanical innovation, the Pan America had another obstacle: trust. Harley Davidson had no history in the adventure bike world. Loyal ADV riders, who often stick with proven brands like Honda or BMW, were hesitant to take a risk on a first-generation model. And while Harley's fan base is fiercely loyal, many cruiser enthusiasts weren't ready to jump into a totally different riding experience. It was a bike without a clear home, too offbeat for Harley traditionalists and not proven enough for hardcore adventurers. The pricing didn't help either. With a starting price of $17,319, it wasn't exactly affordable for a first-time adventure rider. And with premium rivals offering more established reliability and dealer support, the Pan America quickly found itself in a tough spot. All of this created the perfect storm: a high-powered machine with great specs and bold ambition, but marred by early production issues and caught between two wildly different rider communities. Harley Davidson took a risk, and while the Pan America wasn't a total failure, the 2021 launch edition left a sour taste for many. It was supposed to mark a new chapter for Harley Davidson, a bold entry into a booming market segment, but instead it became a cautionary tale about what happens when a legendary brand steps too far outside its comfort zone. Which of these bikes do you think deserves a second chance, or none at all? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to our channel.